Hey, what's up, fight fans? It's Will here once again for another fight card prediction. We're going to be breaking down UFC Milwaukee, Kevin Lee versus Iaquinta 2, a rematch which took place nearly 5 years ago, I think it was. Way back in 2013, 2014, I think it was. So yeah, a long time ago. Both guys have made improvements since then. So interesting fight in your main event there. Edson Barboza, Dan Hooker, good fight. Sergio Pettis moving up to 135. So good fights. Coming off UFC 231. Ooh, that main event. Jeez, crazy fight. Crazy performance from Max Holloway. One of the best, the best featherweight. I don't think you can even deny that at this point. I think I'd be surprised. I've seen people, I think it's just bandwagon Conor fans saying Conor beat him doing this and da. But no, Max Holloway's the best featherweight there is. I think he's surpassed Aldo already, and the guy's only 27. He wants to stay in that division. Dana wants to take him out. Interesting times ahead for Max Holloway. Interesting times ahead for Brian Ortega, because that guy's got a chin. He can take it. But that was a big performance, like a brutalizing performance that Max Holloway put on. So interesting to see what Brian Ortega does next. But yeah, hopefully he takes a lot of time off and comes back refreshed and ready to go again. For me, picks wise, it wasn't that great. It was probably my worst picks picks of the whole entire year. Wasn't good. I think it was like 5 and 7 maybe, if I'm lucky. I never even went back and looked, but I know like I totally shit the bed during the prelims, like a run of fights. As the week kind of went on last week, I started to like Brad Katona. I thought the Matt Lopez pick was a little bit silly. But yeah, that was last week. We're moving on. Not wanting to go 2 weeks in a row with bad picks. That irks me a little bit, so I'm hoping I can do well this one. Just a couple of thank yous, some massive thank yous actually. Last week I put out, and I felt kind of bad doing it, and I had messages from people saying don't feel bad for asking for money for like charities and like, and especially with animals and so on. I did feel kind of bad at the time, just because it's asking people for things, money coming up to Christmas, and yeah, it's the time of year that people are spending a lot of money on family and so on. And I asked for help with this charity that I'm helping out, and the response is unbelievable. So many generous people have messaged me, sent money my way. I've told the people who are going to be doing all this with the animals, and they are blown away by the response that I got from my channel. Kevin, Scott, Jean, Jessica, Robert, my man Tony, Ila, I think Ila. I'm sorry if I can't pronounce your name right. Albert, I know you messaged me on Twitter and we spoke a little bit. I think I'm so sorry for butchering your name, by the way. Who else was there? There was Chad, there was Mary, there was Marion, there was Kevin, there was another Kevin, sorry, Ronald, there was Dan. I'm missing out people and I feel silly. In fact, let me have a little look. David, George, who else was there? Andrew. And these people are saying, I'm sorry I can't give more. I don't care if they're little donations, big donations. The fact that you're going into your own pocket and giving me money for this charity is huge. So don't feel like you have to give more, because a little donation, I promise you, will go a big way for these animals, because they will be looked after over this Christmas period. Thank you so much, guys. Like, I never really asked for much in here, but because I feel kind of bad in doing so. But you guys just blew out the water. I'm going to post my email down below, bigbillbar7mma@gmail.com. I'm still going to run it because we're going to go all the way up to Christmas Eve with this money. And then I'm going to take it all out and I'm going to hand them the money. Then on Christmas Day, we're going to go out and we're going to do things at shelters and so on and so on. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Even people have messaged me saying that I wish I could donate something, but I can't because money's tight or so on. It doesn't matter. The fact that you reached out and said you'd be interested was more than enough for me. You guys have been awesome with this, so thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. You ever need anything off me, you hit me up. My email's there. I will try and get back to you in due time. It's a busy time of the year for me as well, with working long hours and so on, and getting ready for Christmas with my little one as well. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate each and every one of you. So yes, thank you very much. Hello to all the new subscribers. Let's get this, see if we can go over 100 likes. That would be great. Let's see if we can get, I like the kind of numbers I'm getting on my videos, which is nice. Moving into next year. By the way, I'm going to say this as well. We're moving into 2019, and I think I did this last year. Is there anything you guys want me to do regarding maybe interviewing other guys who pick fights and querying them how they pick fights? Interview with betting guys, DraftKings. I always try to do more. Like I say, I work a lot of hours. It's a tough week, especially with a little girl as well. But I'm willing to kind of go out there and do a little bit more extra with stuff before the fights if I can. So if there's something you would like me to maybe try and do, then hit me up with that. I quite like the idea of speaking to betting guys and seeing their process, how they bet fights, how they evaluate tape, and how they make the decision to bet those guys and see if they've got different strategies. So if that's something you would like to add on there, maybe once every month or once a week or whatever it is, then I'd be happy to do that. So yeah, we're going to get into this fight card. I'm just going to say straight off the bat, some of the early fights in this card, I've watched one fight of each guy. I've not had the time, like super busy. I was out my Christmas work nights out at the weekend as well. And then I had to look after my daughter on Sunday. So I've not had as much time to watch as many of these fights as possible. So some of the early ones take with a pinch of salt. And hopefully a couple of them come through and they're not too bad botches, because I usually like to watch 3 fights of each guy, but I've not had the opportunity to do that in this one. So we are going to get into it in this card, and we're starting off in the, let's get that. I wasn't ready for, there we go. Heavyweight division. Chris De La Hoya against Juan Adams. I'm going to knock this one straight out of the park. I think straight away, I should say, Juan Adams for me is going to win this fight. I think the guys, this is a good fight. I like what they're doing with the Dana White contender fighters guy. They're giving them very winnable fights. They build them up, but they're giving them tough fights as well. I mean, Darren Stewart, Edmund Shabazian, Roosevelt Roberts, Darrell Horch are the other type of fights to be made. And Juan Edwards against a Chris De La Hoya, I think it's the type of fight you're making. The one thing I don't like is the fact that he's 4-0. I mean, that's very, very early on in your career. I like the fact that he's fought majority of his fights in LFA. We've obviously seen him in the Dana White show where he went through the guy in a round. He went through all of his opponents in one round. The one thing I like about this guy is he's got a pace, a serious pace about him that I think he can keep up for at least 10, 12 minutes of the fight. In fact, probably the whole 15 minutes. I don't know why I'm saying 12, but yeah, I think that his pace is going to be too much. Chris De La Hoya's chin is always in the air. It's always ready to be hit. He's only 5-2 himself, so he's not that he's got all that much experience. I know he's got more UFC experience, but he has lost 2 of those fights. He has get stopped in 2 of those fights. Another fight that he won was against Rashad Coulter, who's always there to be hit at. Like, he's a small heavyweight compared to what De La Hoya is, and De La Hoya got him in the mounted position and kind of just beat him out, beat his ass pretty badly. So Juan Edwards for me, I think he's got a lot to work on, head movement. He's a little bit stationary sometimes, which will catch him up, but he's still very young. The UFC are going to build this guy into a kind of future star. I think that's what they're hoping. Juan Edwards for me, I'm going to go round 1 TKO victory there. Moving on, middleweight division, Trevor Smith against Zach Cummins, who's making the move back up to 185. Like I say, watch one fight of these guys. I'm kind of going off memory of Trevor Smith, who I thought was a little bit unlucky against Elias Theodoro. Zach Cummins' last fight against Michel Prazeres, where Prazeres coming up from lightweight, just got takedowns, kind of bullied him a little bit, and won a split decision there. like the fact that Zach Cummins is going back up. He's not depleting himself moving down to 170 anymore. He's moving himself up there. And this, I think, it's a winnable fight, honestly, because Trevor Smith is a guy that his weapons aren't great. He's a grinder more than anything. You look at his wins, I don't think he's got any stoppages at all. Most of these wins are kind of unanimously, like your Chris Camozes, Joe Giolotti, Tor Troying, I want to say. I remember that one from Dublin. Brian Houston. Like the caliber of fighters that he's beaten, like Camozzi, Giolotti, Troying, Houston, they're not good fighters at all. I put Zach Cummins way above those fighters. And the people that he's lost, I mean, your Laties, Elias, Andrew Sanchez, Magalhaes, are people that I put definitely on a higher level to what the wins are in the UFC. His game plan is he's going to want to put it against the fence, make it dirty, look for takedowns, and just make it dirty. I think Zach Cummins, to me, will be stronger, especially later on in the fight. I think he can get underhooks against the cage. He can pick him apart at distance a little bit. Trevor Smith's always been very, very hittable in there, and especially on when he starts to gas. And I think that Zach Cummins will make the adjustments on the feet. He will kind of pick him apart a little bit. I think he'll throw leg kicks. He'll open up and lower the hands of Trevor Smith, and I think he could actually stop him with maybe some strikes, because I mean, he has been stopped a couple of times. I remember Tali's Lati stopped him. Magalhaes maybe did as well, actually, off the top of my head. Like I say, I've not watched as much fights in this one as I usually do, so I'm kind of babbling on a little bit here. But I think that Zach Cummins could potentially stop him. I'm going to pick him via stoppage. Maybe early round number 3, I think I'm going to go. Let me see. Yeah, early round number 3 for Zach Cummins. Light heavyweight division, Adam Milstead against Mike Rodriguez. This is one that really didn't kind of jump out at me too much. And if I did more kind of watched a little bit, few more fights of these guys, I might have actually made a bet on Mike Rodriguez. Mike Rodriguez is going to be my pick in this one. I'm going to take a shot on the underdog. I saw earlier on that he was the underdog. And in my opinion, I don't think Adam Milstead should ever be a minus 200 favourite against anybody. Going off Mike Rodriguez's last performance, obviously the guy is very dynamic on the feet. We saw that in the Dana White show. I think it was Jamel Jones that he stopped with a flying knee, if I remember right. That's going off memory. But yeah, a lot of energy. Got a massive kind of advantage with the reach and everything here. But what you've seen in that fight, excuse me, guys, was that he's got a deficiency to getting taken down, and that was what Devin Clark did. Now, Devin Clark, when he's facing these type of guys, he looks like a world beater, pretty much. When you see what he did at the weekend there, when he steps up against someone who's got a bit of talent about them, he usually ends up losing. And he took down Mike Rodriguez, I want to say 5-6 times there, and looked pretty decent doing so. Adam Milstead came into the UFC very, very, very kind of small heavyweight, was kind of made to pay in that Curtis Blades fight where he got absolutely brutalised, and that when it got turned to a no contest. Lost a very kind of close split decision to Jordan Johnson last time out, away back in March. Comes from a wrestling background, so that kind of interests me a little bit to see if he's going to use that. But in majority of his fights outside the UFC, I remember that most of his wins were via TKO, and a lot of them weren't kind of wrestling-based TKOs as well. Not like he took them down and ground and pounded them out. So if this is on the feet, I think Mike Rodriguez has an opportunity to land some shots. Now, I think that Milstead will get a couple of takedowns in there, but I think that Rodriguez is going to have points in this fight where he's going to hurt Adam Milstead and could potentially knock him out. So I'm going to take a shot at Mike Rodriguez here, and it's kind of hard because it's low level fighters here. Not that I should be saying that because I'm not a fighter in any means, but these guys in the UFC. But just from what we kind of see sometimes, this is your kind of lower echelon of that division. And I'll take a shot at Mike Rodriguez. I think that he could get Milstead I think it's going to be a little bit back and forward. I think there's going to be opportunities. There's going to be times in the fight where Milstead will look dominant, then Rodriguez will hit him with something and maybe wobble him a little bit. I'll take a shot on Mike Rodriguez to win via TKO in round number 2. The betting line's off, I think, a little bit, but it's hard to bet someone like Mike Rodriguez, honestly. But I'll pick him. I'll give him a shot here as a pick. Moving on, women's flyweight division with Jessica Rose Clark against Andrea KGB Lee. And I'll put my hands up. I'm not super impressed with Andrea Lee. I think I've pretty much watched all of her fights coming up through Invicta, in the LFA as well. First time I ever seen her was obviously the Shannon Sin fight way back in 2014. And I thought she was getting a big push against Roxanne Modafferi, even though Modafferi's not great, let's be honest. I thought it was a third fight in. I thought that was a big step up in kind of opponent from what she faced before. And then since then, she went on Rachel Ostovich, Ariel Beck, who fought in the UFC and on Tough, and so on. But when she went through a kind of LFA run with the Invicta run as well, she looked fairly impressive there. I've just never been super impressed with her. She's really good, solid striker. She obviously comes from that Muay Thai, kickboxing, whatever his background. She's had a lot of personal problems as well, which is something to keep an eye on here. So she's not been at a normal camp, obviously with her husband, and that whole, what he was doing to her was pretty rough. I think she's been down at MMA Gold in California with Aspen Ladd, working a lot there. In that fight with Veronica Macedo, I think I picked Macedo in that fight because I thought she might be able to stay fairly competitive on the feet, but maybe when it got to the ground, she could maybe catch a submission down there, where KGB Lee actually initiated some of the takedowns and put her down there and controlled her. So props to her for that. I think she's a decent fighter, but she's always a fighter when I think of Andrea Lee, I want to fade her straight away. I don't know why. I don't know why that is, because I don't have that with many fighters, but with Andrea Lee, I think it's maybe because I was looking at stuff online and people were bigging this girl up to be like the future champion. And I'm like, no, I really don't think she is. I mean, she might be, you never know, but for me, I just don't think she is. Jessica Rose Clark, I've been impressed with since she came into the UFC. Beck Rollins, I thought she gave a very professional performance in that one there. Then Paige Van Zandt, I bet her as a betting underdog, I want to say, in that one way back earlier on the year. And I thought she looked impressive in that fight, but that's Paige Van Zandt, who's got her own limitations. And then Jessica, I thought she fought very close with. I definitely think that Jessica won the fight. I bet Jessica Rose Clark in that one as well. Jessica just kind of outstruck a little bit, landed the better shots, got the takedown at the right time. And like I say, Jessica is probably going to, looks as if she's going to fight for a UFC title next. Who knows? Against Valentina Shevchenko, who won the strap at the weekend. On the feet, I think that Rose Clark will be competitive. I think she will be in a little bit of advantage. I think that Jessica Rose Clark will be the kind of bigger, physically more intimidating girl. KGB will be the faster, lighter fighter on her feet. She'll look to throw leg kicks. I think if I'm Jessica Rose Clark, and some of the posts that I've been seeing and some of the people that I know are in her camp have messaged, she's working a lot on her grappling. So I think that's where she's going to look to take this fight. Not to take KGB lightly on the ground, because she's won by submissions in the past as well. I think that's what she's going to do. I think she's going to want to rough up KGB, maybe put her against the cage, potentially try and get a takedown through that. Not that she's did that all too much. In the Beck Rollins fight, she timed takedowns really well, but that was Beck Rollins who, yeah, that's Beck Rollins. She loses more fights than she actually wins. So I think she will get a couple of takedowns in KGB. I see it being fairly close, but I like Jessica Rose Clark to get the win here. I think she stays competitive in every facet. I think KGB is very good in some of those facets as well. She has an advantage, but I think we see a good performance here from Jessica Rose Clark. I think she's going to do this here, so I'm going to pick her to win via decision. It might be close, it might be a split decision, but I'm going to go Jessica Rose Clark. And bets wise, I'm not really locked in to all too much. I might have a couple that I've made already, and I might have made one in this fight or not, but you can check out my betting maybe tips and see that maybe I have or haven't, but the betting line's off. Plus 240 or plus 250, I think she is over here in the UK. That's a little bit off, especially in women's MMA, like we've seen last week with two of the three dogs coming through, big dogs as well, especially with Nina Ansarov, which I feel a little bit silly in picking Cloud Igadilli in that one, but it is what it is. I'm going to pick Jessica Rose Clark here via decision. Dan Ige is up against Jordan Griffin next. Jordan Griffin, another Dana White Contender Show fighter, fighting out of Milwaukee, Rufus Sport. So this is a big fight, fighting adopted hometown here. Very aggressive guy. Honestly, I never really watched too much of this guy. I watched his fights with, let me see, I'm going to go and have a look at his record. Give me a little second and I'll tell you which fights I watched. Because he was one of the ones I actually watched a couple of little bits ago. Oh, computer's decided not to work. Great. Topology, let me see. Jordan Griffin. Yeah, obviously the Reese Mitchell one I watched. I watched the Sean West one in LFA. I watched the Cody Stevens one as well. So those were the three fights that I watched. For the simple reason I wanted to watch him in the first round. I wanted to watch him in the fourth round. Not the fourth round. What's it? I'm looking at the wrong guy. Darek Minea, that's who it was, in the second round with an armbar. It wasn't the other one. And he obviously looked at his record there. He lost to Juan Archuleta. Lost most of his fights early on. So, looks like he's made a kind of turnaround. Got some wins via knockout. Got some wins via rear naked choke. But honestly, I've not really looked into that guy as much as I usually do. Dan Ige, nice win. Can't say anything more than that. He got a nice win last time out against Mike Santiago. Went in there, kind of starched him in the first minute of that fight. Vicious ground and pound. The Julio Arce fight, he kind of got pinged up a little bit. In that, in fact, pretty badly. He got pinged up in that one. But I think this is a better fight for him to win here. I think that training, he's like pretty much, I think he's very, very close friends with Mr. Khabib Nurmagomedov, and he's been training a lot with that guy, especially in the lead up to the Conor fight a couple of months ago, where he was a really close kind of associate fighter with Khabib. He was a sparring partner, worked really well. Now he's got that UFC win. I expect him to kind of move on here. I think it's a good fight to try and get him back to his bread and butter again. Of he's very, very good in the ground. I remember watching that Kimura win against I can't remember his name. It begins with a P. I can't remember. Diego, I think his first name was. I can't remember his surname though. But when you go back on the Dana White Contender Series, he won rear naked choke. He's got some vicious ground and pound, like I said before. I just think he's a little bit of a better fighter than what Jordan Griffin is at this point. So I'll pick Dan Ige. I'll pick him via submission, round number 2. But honestly, guys, I've not looked into Jordan Griffin all too much, so I really probably shouldn't make a pick in that. But got feeling when I first heard the pick and when the limited kind of fights that I've seen, I'm going to pick Dan Ige in that one there. A fight in the middleweight division I'm super interested in. Gerald Meerschart against Jack Hermansson. Obviously, I know about Jack. I've been watching Jack for many, many years out in the regional scenes of Cage Warriors, Bellator back in the day when he lost a couple of fights there. And we've seen him in the UFC where he's lost a couple of fights, but he's also delivered some big performances in the UFC as well. That fight against Thales Leites back in May started off great, was really beating up Thales Leites. Second round, I think he busts his rib up, gets taken down, gets kind of dominated there, and then comes out in the third round and stops him with that ground and pound. Crazy fight, crazy finish. I think I bet him in that one as well, so that was a kind of big sweat when you seen him grimacing and holding his rib and so on. And the two fights he's lost, he's got stopped by submission and it got knocked out by Thiago Santos. And after the weekend, we can see that anybody can get knocked out by Thiago Santos. That guy throws some heavy leather at all times, especially at 205 now, where he's not making that big cut down to 185. That's a scary dude. He's a great guy to watch fight, by the way. What I like about Jack Hermansson, weird movement, a really good pace, vicious ground and pound. But he's got an opponent here in Gerald Meerschart who is super, super crafty, like really crafty guy. I've had a couple of people message me regarding this and saying this should be easy for Jack Hermansson just because Meerschaert's lost a lot of fights. But he lost a lot of fights, I want to say way back in 2013. He lost like 3 in the space of 18 months out in the regional scenes. But the guys that he's losing to, like Kenny Robertson was a UFC vet at the time. I think Lapsley even fought in the UFC at the time. Sam Alvey, he lost to him, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago. But since then, he's kind of reeled off wins. I know he won 4 or 5 fights in the regionals, got his introduction to the UFC. Then you get Joe Gilotti, he wasn't UFC caliber. Ryan James, tough guy. Don't ever think he was that great, but he was very tough. Then he got knocked out by Thiago Santos. That can happen to anybody, like I said before. But the guy stops fights. I was super high in Oscar Pajota last time. I think I bet Oscar, so that was a losing bet. Came out, fought very strong in the first round, faded a little bit. And if you fade against a guy like Gerald Meerschart and give him the opportunity to grab your back, like many people have, he will catch something and he will put you to sleep. He's got many submission wins, rear naked choke, arm bars, anaconda chokes, arm triangles, you name it. The guy's got a plethora of submission wins, and that's the only thing I'm worrying about here is just the fact that if he gets Hermansson down and somehow takes his back, that he may find a submission, because he is deadly with that. But I like Hermansson's output. I like the pace that he keeps. So yeah, I'm going to go Jack Hermansson. I think eventually he starts to hurt Gerald Meerschart. I mean, this is a home fight for Gerald here, so this is a huge, huge fight at home. I've had a couple of thoughts where I think maybe the fight could be close, but I think eventually Jack Hermansson's pace might wear him down a little bit and he could hurt him. And I think with that heavy ground and pound, I think he could definitely take him out there. So I'm going to pick Jack Hermansson, probably early 3rd round TKO there. Moving on. Interesting fight here. Jared Gordon against Joaquim Silva. And yeah, I've seen literally the last 2 days, I put in both guys' names. I wanted to see what people were saying about this on the MMA kind of Twitter sphere to see what thoughts are, and they're kind of different in many things here. Like some people super high in Jared Gordon. I'm seeing some people really liking Joaquim Silva, and I thought, right, I'm going to go and watch the tape here on this and see what I'm thinking to it. And initially, when I looked at Jared Gordon, I thought super crazy pressure fighter, throws a lot of strikes per minute, and will kind of look for kind of takedowns as well. And he showed that in his UFC debut that he has. I think he comes from a wrestling background way back in the day. I remember looking into that, but totally forgetting where he came from. Hakran Diaz, he beat him down in Brazil. That's no easy feat. Moved up to 155, which was, I think he's a little bit undersized for that division, honestly. And it kind of showed against Carlos de Ferreira, where he came out in that fight, and Carlos is a good fighter. Let's not get it twisted. I think that he is a dangerous fighter. Not too many people will sign on to face a guy like that, but he got hurt early in that fight. I think his aggressiveness is actually his downfall. I think he comes forward and leaves things open, and I think just from what I've seen from Joaquim Silva, the guy's a good counter striker. I think that he can most definitely catch Gordon coming forward. He's not the biggest output guy, doesn't throw all too much, but what he throws is with big power, heavy, devastating punches and kicks. Even like in that Raising My Daddy fight, he outstruck him fairly convincingly, but got taken down 5 times, and that ultimately what led to him losing the fight. The Vince Pichel fight, I thought he fought pretty close. Vince is a tough guy, though, lost the decision. Honestly, I don't feel too confident in Jared Gordon in this. Well, do I feel confident? No. I just think he's too open for strikes, and I think Silva could potentially crack him with something in that fight there. And I seen he was the underdog. I think he was like plus 160 over here in the UK. That's a little bit like an eye opener for me. I think his takedown defense is actually pretty good. So I think Jared Gordon will try and look for takedowns. I think he might get one or two, but I think that Silva will stop more of the takedown attempts. I think Jared Gordon will start to maybe fade a little bit. And I think that Joaquim Silva could catch him with a shot. I really do. I think his striking defense is there to be got at. And I just think that this is a spot for Joaquim Silva to get the win here. Let me see. I'm going to go Joaquim Silva. I might have said Razor Madadi actually beat him. Razor Madadi didn't beat him. He outstruck him, got taken down a lot, but really didn't do anything with those takedowns. I'm going to go Joaquim Silva via knockout in round number 2. I think he walks onto a shot, puts Jared Gordon down, and he stops him. I think that's a little bit bold, but yeah, I'll go Joaquim Silva in that one. Lightweight division, staying in here, we've got Bobby Green against Drakkar Klose. This is an interesting fight. I've seen some people completely disrespect Bobby Green and say that he's got no chance in this fight. I'm like, oh, you shouldn't do that against a guy like Bobby Green, because if that guy shows up like we know he can, the guy is a tough fighter and he fights tough with anybody. The best in the division, he fights close with. Sometimes he fights down to kind of level of opponents a little bit with like Lando Venata, where he was getting outstruck and getting hit. But Venata can do that early on. He hits you with some big strikes and then he kind of fades off and you can get him a little bit. But Bobby Green's a tough guy, man. I'm not going to disrespect him in this spot here, especially Drakkar Klose. Drakkar Klose is going to look to do kind of what he does pretty much in every fight, and that is put you against the cage and look to kind of take you down from there. Like a David Damer kind of game plan was the kind of punch from the outside there. Don't get caught up, don't get tangled up. Drakkar got him down a few times, but didn't really do anything. David Tamer was really good at getting back to his feet there. And Bobby Green's the kind of guy that he's a hard guy to kind of keep down, honestly. If you get him down, he will find a way to pop back up. He's just a tough guy. People are disrespecting Bobby Green, in my opinion, in this fighting. But I can see why people are confident in Drakkar Klose, because he's got that stifling style. Did that to Devin Powell, put him against the cage, just absolutely wore on him, beat him up from there. Mark Diakese got takedowns. He got taken down a couple of times as well, but ultimately did enough to win that fight. I was a little bit sceptical. I thought Mark Diakese had an opportunity to win there. And then he did that to Lando Venata, where he kind of held him up a little bit, outstruck him. His striking looked better in that fight than it ever did before. Bobby Green, if you give him, he keeps that kind of wild pace. He can throw a lot of output. And if you don't tie him up, he could start to land on you. The one thing with Bobby Green is sometimes his mentality, is his head really in it? He's had tough family times. I think I've said this. I'll probably say this in every Bobby Green fight. What is he doing outside the cage? Is he in trouble? Is his family in trouble? Which always seems to be the case. But the guy fights hard nonetheless. He only loses to really kind of good guys, Yapores, Magomedov, Barboza. And this is kind of, I don't want to say it's a step down, but this is maybe a little bit of a step up for Drakkar Klose. Or maybe not, because David Tamer's very good. I don't know, maybe talking out my backside there. I think Drakkar Klose is going to win a dirty, smelly decision, but I think Bobby Green is going to have aspects of this fight where he fights close in this one. I'm going to pick Drakkar Klose. He's not going to be one of my more confident picks. It's probably going to be a less confident pick because I think Bobby Green is a good fighter and he's a hard guy to face. So I'll go Drakkar Klose I'll go a split decision. I think Bobby will fight him close, but inevitably, I think Drakkar will win the fight. Zach Ottow against Dwight Grant. Can't say I'm super impressed with Dwight Grant, honestly. I've seen he's a big favourite here over Zach Ottow. Watched the fight with, who was it again, on the Dana White Contender show? Tyler Hill, knockout in the second round, punched him out there. Saw him way back in the Conquer FC, I think it was. He won via knockout there. Comes from AK, good camp. Tried to find more fights in this guy. Didn't really see them. Was going to ask a couple of people who are really good for finding fights. But like I say, this time of year with my work, it's super busy. And I've just not really got as much time as I usually have. I'll get that back in January. So looking forward to that. Decent to say the least. I think that's what it's there. Zach Ottow. What do you say about Zach Ottow? I don't think he's that good in his wins in the UFC. Like Mike Pyle, Josh Burkman. I mean, Kiichi Kunamoto. That was a close split. Could have went either way there. I don't know. I'm not sold on him at all. But this could be. I mean, he's the one thing I will say this: the fact that he's been in the UFC and he's fought some decent guys. I mean, say what you want about Sage Northcutt. He's fast, he's explosive, he's got skills. Li Jingliang, big power hitter. Sergio Moraes it's hard to look good against that guy at all. I think Dwight Grant is going to be the better striker, the bigger striker. I think that Zach Ottow will maybe look to try and get in the inside, try and rough him up a little bit, try and get takedowns, and maybe try and work a ground game on him. Coming from AK, you'd think that Dwight Grant's grappling would be fairly decent, and I expect that to be the case. And if it stands on the feet, I think Dwight Grant has some power there. He could catch Zach Ottow, and he has been put down. So I'll go Dwight Grant, TKO, maybe late 2, round 3, but Zach is fighting at home, so this could be one of these ones where he races his game big time here and shows up and wins a fight. I'm not confident in the Dwight Grant pick, I'll be honest with you. I'm going to pick my least confident picks there. But I do think that he could stop Zach Ottow, because I do think he leaves his chin in there, and you can ping him with shots as well. So Dwight Grant, TKO round 2. Yeah. Moving on, I think we're on to the main card now. Jim Miller against Charles Oliveira in a rematch which took place, and this blew my mind because I know I've been watching the sport for a long time, but I did not think this fight was this far back. December 11th, which is today not December 11th? It is. Well, it is over here in the UK. It's 1:20 a.m. It's the December 11th, 2010 was the last time these guys fought. 8 years ago. I had no idea that. I knew Charles had been around for a long time. I knew Jim had been around for a long time. Didn't think it was 8 years. That's a crazy long time. And in that fight, Jim Miller, he was really in his pomp at that time. He looked very, very dangerous. Not saying that he's still not dangerous, because in his last fight he showed that he's still got some of those skills. But Jim Miller was facing anybody and everybody at that time, looking great. Caught Charles Oliveira in a knee bar. He was only 21 at the time, was Charles Oliveira. I think that was his third fight in the UFC. He had a lot of hype because he had 2 humongous finishes coming into the UFC over Darren Elkins. Then he submitted Efrain Escudero, I want to say. And then getting a big step up, Jim Miller, and he got caught with a knee bar on that one. I like Charles Oliveira as a fighter. I think he's very, very good. I think his striking's developing. We all know about his submission game. The thing is with Charles Oliveira, the guy has a little bit of quit in him, and it's hard to kind of bait someone like him. It's hard to pick him because, like we see in the Cub Swanson, he took one shot and he kind of flopped down. The Max Holloway fight, he took a shot, didn't want to be in there. So he's a guy that you have to be kind of careful, especially if you're betting him, because at any time I think that he could pull that card out again and just not look to be, just look to kind of not be in there in the octagon. But the guy's super dangerous with his submissions. Mostly, I think he's got 11 or 12 bonuses. So the guy's made a well over $500,000 in bonuses alone, which is a lot of money. Coming off the win over Christos Giagos, I don't think he looked great in that fight, but obviously got the rear naked choke for the most submission wins in the UFC. Guillotine Clay Guida very quickly in that fight. Had opportunities in the Paul Felder fight before getting taken out in the second round. Will Brooks, the guy's dangerous. I think on the feet, if he fights long and keeps Jim Miller at bay and doesn't just fight smart, don't overdo yourself. I think that Jim can fade in the fight. He's been in a lot of fights. Jim's like 36 now, and he's a little bit shop worn, but he is coming off a big win where he looked back to his old self against who was it? Alex White. That was a performance that we've really not seen in him in a long time, and he says he's the healthiest he's ever been. Caught him with a shot, took him down, got to the ground and submitted him there. Got knocked out by Dan Hooker, lost to Poirier, lost to Pettis, lost to Ronaldo. I mean, those 4 losses are to really good guys. So, yeah, interesting. And his win before that, last win before that was Thiago Alves, who had no right being trying to even make 155. That was stupid. Jim Miller is always live in fights. I think especially for the first 5 to 7 minutes nowadays. Beforehand, he used to be dangerous for the 15. I don't think he's like that anymore, but he is dangerous and he does have some striking and he obviously has submission skills. A lot of his wins are via submissions. Back in the day, not so much. When was his last? In fact, not even submission wins. The Anthony Medeiros was his last win via submission outside of the Alex White fight, which was 2014. So, but he is crafty in the ground. I think that I would definitely give the advantage to Charles in that aspect. I think he can catch up. He's long. He's got the reach advantage, and I like his striking. I do. I think his striking's coming along. Uses a nice jab, nice leg kicks. But you have to be careful with Charles Oliveira. I like him to win this fight. I think he kind of works from the outside on Jim Miller, beats him up a little bit. Once he starts to fade, I think they'll start getting into clinching positions or takedowns on the mat, and I think he will find a submission. So I'm going to go Charles Oliveira. I'm going to pick a submission. What am I going to pick? I'll pick a triangle choke. I think we'll go for an arm triangle for Charles Oliveira there. Moving on, bantamweight division, Rob Font against Sergio Pettis. Interesting. Sergio Pettis is coming off a loss to Jose Formega, where he kind of got backpacked, got taken down a couple of times, and then Jose kind of held on to his back for 3 minutes, probably that third round. And the bad thing about that was that Sergio didn't really have anything. He was looking at the clock, he was looking at his corner, and really he didn't know what to do, which was a little bit concerning. That he was in that position, he couldn't really do anything at all, and just got kind of out hustled by Jose Formega. But what does Sergio Pettis bring to the table? Really good striking, very technical. Obviously, he's got no power. He's got a lot of speed, so he can throw in bunches when he decides to. Not that he does it all that much. Doesn't land like. Looking at his kind of stats there, his strikes per minute is like 3.6. His takedown defense is 60%, not bad. Moving up to like 135, he's going to have to really. It's kind of hard. He's going to have to really have a solid output to win fights. If he sits back like he did a little bit at 125, where he wasn't landing kind of regularly. He was landing enough to kind of win fights. Like the Moreno fight's a kind of good aspect of that, where he landed his fair share. But I think with a higher, he's going to like moving up to 135. That's a killer's division. There's so many top fighters at that division that he's going to have to kind of show a little bit more, in my opinion. I think in this one here, he's going to have to hit and run because Rob Font is going to be the bigger guy. He is going to be, I think, the more powerful guy with the more powerful strikes. And Sergio Pettis, I think the only time he's been knocked out was the Ryan Benoit fight where he got caught with a shot. And Rob Font could be that guy to hurt him, because he's hurt like a few guys himself. Thomas Almeida, he took out with a beautiful kick. He was totally outstriking him there. Rafael Assunção his 2 losses actually. I know, well, his 3 losses if you take the John Lineker one. Lineker, Munoz, Asuncao, all tough fighters to kind of face. But he has a fairly good output himself. When you look at his, when you look at some of his fights well, very technical, very accurate. But I think when it comes to the striking, I think he's going to be a little bit behind what Sergio is. I think he's going to be a little too fast, and I think that Sergio's going to hit and run, and it's going to look good in the judges' eyes that he's not getting hit, but he's hitting. I think Rob Fonte, he'll start to get aggressive, he'll start to get a little bit desperate, and that's when he'll start to take more shots off Sergio Pettis. I was kind of going a little bit back and forward with this one. I think I'm going to pick Sergio Pettis via a very close decision. I think he might even get a hometown decision here. I think if Rob Font can't land something with substance, that Sergio might start to like win these close rounds with just the more output, the more landing. Do I see him try to take down Sergio Pettis perhaps? He had a takedown against Matt Schnell. That De Andrade fight, he had a couple. The Almeida one, he had one as well. So that's something he might look at. He might look to tie him up a little bit. I don't know. I'll go Sergio Pettis via split decision. Yeah. Co-main event of the night. Great fight. Edson Barboza against Dan Hangman Hooker. Big step up for Dan Hooker with his previous opponents. I mean, this is I think he's in the top 15, so he's got himself into that upper echelon. When you look at it, the people that he's beat, I don't see any of them especially in the lightweight division. We're talking about the lightweight division. Ross Pearce and Mark Diakiese, in my opinion, are not even in the top 40. Especially Ross Pearce. Mark Diakiese might be on that top 40, maybe. Jim Miller, you've always got to make that step up against the veteran opponent. He did that, knocked him out with a vicious knee. Then Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns has obviously got potential. That was another guy last week as the fight was going on. I was thinking, why did I pick OAM? Because Gilbert Burns looked as good as he ever did in that fight. But Dan Hooker's got that step up here now. Now, he is definitely one of these East ascending fighters. I do believe that Barboza is a kind of descending one, but I don't think he's shooting down that quick where he's completely shot, completely done. Because you look at the fighters that he's been facing, he's been fighting the best in the division. And he's losing to the best guys in the division. It was kind of a little bit concerning in the Kevin Lee fight that he was getting a little bit, don't want to say outstruck, but signature strikes wise, he was kind of getting beat up a little bit. But as always with that guy, you have to mind your P's and Q's with Edson Barboza, because all it takes is one strike and he'll make you do the chicken dance like Kevin Lee did, he did the chicken dance and the stanky leg in that one. What these last 2 fighters did was Khabib and Kevin Lee, they took him down and kind of beat him up with ground and pound and wore out Edson Barboza. The guy's still an absolute savage, but he got stopped in that 5th round, and his punishment meter is kind of at an all-time high here. He's taken a lot of shots, he's taken a lot of damage, but he is taking it against the top guys in the division, and Dan Hooker is not a top guy in that division yet. Could be. This is going to be the fight to see where he's at. Like I said, ascending fighter against a slightly descending fighter. A little bit concerned that he's changed camp as well. He's went to American Top Team for the first time, so it's interesting to see what they're going to do there. Are they maybe going to look to take this guy down? Struggle to see it. So in my opinion, I think it becomes a striking battle. And although I think Dan Hooker is a really, really good striker, and I'm seeing a lot of people fairly confident in Dan Hooker, I'm not one of those people just yet. I'm ready to see if this Barboza is a top 7 guy. There's levels, and he might be, I think, ranked 14th in the division. You've got to get yourself into that top 10. And Barboza has just fought the who's who, your Pettis, your Fergusons, your Lees, your Khabibs, Michael Johnson. Back in the day was tough. That was a fight there where he kind of got outstruck and didn't look overly great in that fight. I don't think Cerrone. I mean, he's fought the guys in the division, but to be fair, we have seen Barboza drop with a jab before. Cerrone caught him with a jab and put him down and submitted him as well, and he was looking good in that fight, landing a lot of strikes. But I feel more confident picking Barboza. I think he's obviously can chop away at those legs. If he can establish early, like I say pretty much every week with fighters, then he could definitely go on and win a decision here. But Daniel Hooker's going to be dangerous, especially if we get into clinch positions. If he gets him backed up against the fence, because those long limbs, they could catch him with something. I'm going to pick Edson Barboza via decision, though. And the main event of the night, like I said, it was a rematch. Kevin Lee against Iaquinta, fight that took place way back in the day. Kevin Lee's very first fight in the UFC, I want to say. It was like maybe the third or fourth for Iaquinta. In that fight, Al outstruck him. Kevin Lee got a takedown at one point, passed him. Looked for a couple of submissions, didn't work out, and Al got the unanimous decision victory there, way back in 2014. Since then, Kevin Lee just went on leaps and bounds. I mean, the Leonardo Santos one was very concerning, the loss there where he got knocked out in the first. But since then, he's been on an absolute tear, beating good fighters. Good fighters. The fighters, after that loss to Santos, he beat the fighters he had to, your Escuderos, your Matthews, your Magomeds, Mustafayevs. But then you look at wins over Kesa, always tough. Trinaldo in Brazil, always tough. Tony Ferguson gave everything in that fight. I think the infection really did hurt him in that one. Got takedowns, was landing it well. Not landing it well. Landing strikes on the feet, very competitive. In the Barboza fight, like I was just saying, got takedowns, ruffled him up. That guy gets on top. He's a hard guy to get off of you. Was looking for submissions, passed the guard of Barboza with ease. I think he can get takedowns here now. I really do. I think that I'm just a little bit worried, but I think the betting line's off, actually. I'll say that first. -300 in Kevin Lee. I think Iaquinta is better fighter than that. I mean, I know he was fighting for a title. He came in a day's notice, and Khabib didn't look great. I think he took it a little bit easy towards the end of that fight, but Iaquinta's a tough fighter, and he's got some big power in his hands. He can make Kevin Lee do the chicken dance in that one. But yeah, I think the one thing I like about Kevin Lee, in between fights, I think he makes big jumps. Even from the Tony Ferguson fight, the jump between that to Edson Barboza. The one worry I've got is obviously him making the weight. I think there's talk of this 165 division coming in early next year. I think Kevin Lee is going to wear a belt up at that division. I really do. I think that's a great division for him. But you look, this is a big fight for Al to see where he is in this division, because before the Khabib fight, he was fighting Diego Sanchez, Joe Lozon, Ross Pearson, Rodrigo Dam. Now, I'm going back 4 years ago, but he doesn't fight all that often. So I like what I see from Kevin Lee. I think the big jumps in skill in between fights is something I like. I think he's a great fighter. I really do. I think Kevin Lee's going to be a really good fighter for a long time to come. Putting everything together, he's still, I don't even know the age of Kevin Lee. How old is that kid? Let me see, sorry. 1992, so 26, 27, coming into that prime years, like kind of the Max Holloway kind of years. This guy's going to win a lot of fights at 165. If he stays at 155, he's going to win fights there. I'm going to pick Kevin Lee. I think he mixes it up. I think he has to be careful because Al can catch him. I think he'll get takedowns. I think Al will get back to his feet. But I see Al being kind of backed up to the cage a little bit by Kevin Lee. I think Kevin Lee will get takedowns through that. But he has to be dangerous. Can't leave his chin in there. If Kevin Lee can get him down and get his back, I think he will tap out. Iaquinta. I'm going to go decision Kevin Lee. Fairly confident, like 75%. Well, no, maybe not actually. Like 60% confident that he can do it. I think Iaquinta's a very capable fighter himself, but I'm going to pick Kevin Lee for the win there. So I'll apologise. I haven't did as much into this card as I usually do. Life gets in the way sometimes, guys. But hopefully my picks kind of turn around, because last week was dire. It was not a good week for me. Actually, we've got a break now. We've got the UFC 232 card. John Jones is back. Yeah, boy, John Jones is back. Can't wait for that. Until next time, UFC 232 is stacked, by the way. Great fight card. Until then, thank you so much for everything. Like, comment, subscribes, sending me messages and emails and stuff, chatting fights. It's great, awesome. donations, it's there. If you want to talk to me, I'll put a link in the bottom there, my email address. If you could give me anything, that would be awesome. If you can't, then no worries. If you want to come and talk about it, then I'm all ears. I appreciate the support for everything. So until then, enjoy UFC Milwaukee. I'll see you for UFC 232, and let's close out 2018 in style. All the best, take care, and I'll see you very, very soon.